Hi everyone, I'm Ilan, and I'm hoping to spark some love of nature and wildlife in everyone so that they will actually try to preserve nature a bit better. If my pictures can do that, I'm a really happy man. So how did it all start? It actually started on a family vacation in South Africa, 2015, 4 years ago. Safari in South Africa is great fun. We actually took our niece to a vacation, and on some night drive, 9:30 p.m., the driver suddenly accelerated and stopped near a tree and told us that there was a tiger there, obviously, and a leopard there. Obviously, we didn't see anything. But then we turned on the spotlight, and actually there was a leopard there. And he actually caught a porcupine earlier. You can actually see spots of blood on the legs. And I was using a really small camera that my daughter brought along and got this wonderful picture for my taste. And I fell in love. And that's how I discovered that I liked to take photos. And then back home, I actually researched a bit and bought what is called a super zoom camera, which is essentially a phone sensor attached to really, really, really big lens. You can see that's actually the exact model that I bought. And what you can get for that, especially for wildlife, is you can photograph amazing things. The quality is not up there, but you can actually get really, really close to the animals, which is a great challenge with wildlife. So some photos with that camera include this thing. This is a pair of common kestrels. That's right next to my house, like 5 minutes walk from there. And if you actually do pixel peeping, like we get really close, you see that there's a lot of noise in this photo. It's not a good photo by any measure, but I was really excited. And this is another thing right next to my house. This bird, if you know it, it's a sunbird. It's about this big. So actually getting it in a frame is a great achievement. Sorry? I live in Givat Ada, which is like 30 kilometers to the south. It's one of the best areas for wildlife in Israel or elsewhere. Basically, you'll see later, most of the photos here are from Israel, from the area where I live. Some are from Africa, but the vast majority is from here. This was taken while I was waiting for a train in Binyamina. That's not actually in the station. That's a 2-minute walk from there, but I knew when my train was supposed to arrive. And there you have, this is another kestrel, like 2 pictures before, with the mouse it caught. I didn't catch the really nice moment. This is the female. The male actually caught the mouse and brought it to the female, and they exchanged it in midair. I could see that. I couldn't take the photo. That was too fast for me. And you can see foxes in the fields. This one actually also caught a mouse. I'm not even sure if there's 1 mouse or 2 mice in its mouth, but. And we have beautiful butterflies. Again, if we do some picture, this is actually a pretty good photo, but again, if you get really close and look at the quality is not really high. I think you will be able to spot the difference with a better camera as we go along. This is one of the photos. This I took in Nepal, in Pokhara, which is a beautiful place, surrounded by huge mountains. Like this is an 8-kilometer peak. Think of, yeah, think of Mont Blanc doubled. And this was one of the first pictures that actually got some recognition. It was published in Better Photography magazine. The quality is pretty low, actually. Like, I wasn't really sure if I'm supposed to be happy or sad that this picture was chosen, because compared to other pictures in that magazine, it looked a bit amateurish, but it probably showed something that people actually like to see, so that's nice. This was from this was taken from a plane on the flight. The most beautiful flight in the world, at least the most beautiful flight that I was in, was again from Pokhara to Kathmandu. It's a 1-hour flight. You have the entire Himalayas spread out to the left side of the plane, and you see views like this, the clouds and the mountains emerging from amongst them. So this was a winner in another competition I participated in. And then I figured out that I was not happy enough with the equipment that I have, and went to do some research on what camera I actually want to buy. And for wildlife, which is what I like best, you need pretty good optical quality and a really long lens. You need to actually get close to animals because they tend to stay away. You want to have a really good quality sensor because you want to have good photos. And the camera needs to be fast enough to take, to have a good autofocus system and be able to take rapid successions of photos. With these three requirements, you can spend any amount of money you're interested in, and you have to make compromises. The lens in the photo here is actually a lens you can buy if you have enough money. It's really long. It can get you really, really close to the animals. It's a really fast lens. It lets a lot of light in. And you probably can't lift it for more than 2 seconds. It weighs, I think, close to 20 kilos. So what you actually want to do is find something you're happy with, which means a lens that doesn't weigh as much. If you don't want a lens that weighs as much, but you still want to get close enough to the animals, you probably should compromise on the size of the sensor. A bigger sensor will get more light, which is wonderful. It gets you a better image quality, but it requires a lot more glass. So I have here a comparison of sensor formats, common sensor formats. 35 millimeters is what we had for film. This is called full frame. It's not full by any means, it's just a nickname. You have larger ones, medium format formats, and you have smaller ones, APS-Cs, what some people use. I use something, this one, the 4/3 one, which actually allows me to get pretty good image quality with a normal lens. So if we go, this is what I actually have now, which basically ticks all the boxes. My daughter thinks it's way too heavy. Like really good photographers think it's a toy. It can't be good if it's that small. So I'm probably doing something right. Okay, some landscapes. I'm not a landscape photographer. I did take some landscapes now and then, but I wasn't really happy with them. Funnily enough, my first photos that actually won something or actually got somewhere were landscape photos, which was a bit humorous, but we can start with them. This is one of the first one. This was on a trip to Italy. It's Passo di Chiao, I believe it's called. And this was both a winner in a competition and also got into a photo book, which is nice, was printed and sold. I'm not sure how many copies were actually sold, but I don't care. So what works in this picture? It's a panorama picture taken with a real camera though, not with a smartphone. And what's interesting here is not only the mountains, which are incredibly beautiful and even more beautiful in real life, but what actually makes people like this, this kind of photo is actually, I believe, the path that goes along. People, the path catches the eye and brings the people into the photo. They feel like they're there, they feel like they have something to relate to in the photo. So that was one nice photo. This is from the same trip, Selva di Gardena, pretty close to that place. Also winner in the same competition. That was a competition where you actually submitted a portfolio for 4 photos, and And the 4 of them went together. So that was the second one. Third one was still from the same trip, a bit of a different place. With the reflection, I think the colors are being killed in this photo here, but if you look on the computer, it will look a bit better. And the last one was from Israel. This is Dor Beach. Dor Beach has an incredibly beautiful rock formation going into the sea, which from the right angle can be seen as a dragon's head. You can see the nose and the ears, and combined with the sunset and the appropriate amount of clouds, this works out beautifully. This is kind of a landscape photo. This was taken right from next to the fields in Givat Ada. And the color is real. I mean, I didn't actually change the color. That's what the moon looked like this day. This is called the blood red moon. It happens every quite a few years. Luckily, my son, sorry? Every blue moon, yeah, but this is a blood red one. Sure. And the trouble is that it's a bit hard to observe with the naked eye because you see the moon much smaller, and because everything around is pitch black, our eyes tend to show the moon much brighter than it actually is. So in photos, you can actually see way more details and a much nicer view. The thing is, that's how I found that I'm an amateur when it comes to these kinds of photos, because this was taken again at night. It's really dark outside, so you need to get enough light into your camera. The way to do that is to actually photograph over a longer period of time, and the moon moves over this longer period of time. And it's a really slight movement, so you can't follow it with your hand, follow that manually. But it does cause some blur in the details. So the amount of details here is not as large as I would have wanted it to be. Now, real professionals, what they have is a piece of equipment that costs thousands of dollars and actually follows the movement of the stars and the Earth, the rotation of the Earth, to make sure that whatever you're photographing remains in exactly the same spot. But that's not my area of expertise. They get amazing photos of entire galaxies in the sky. You can really, from the Earth, you don't even need a really powerful telescope. You just need a lot of the right equipment and a good camera. You can actually get the Andromeda system right as you would imagine it, with beautiful detail. Turns out if you're going in a place when there's low light pollution or low enough light pollution and the sky is clear, then the atmosphere is not really an issue.
The moon is red not because of pollution?
No, it's not pollution. The moon is red because the sun, there's, I'm not even sure. It has to do with where the sun is relative to the moon and the earth, that it only happens.
So the light hits the moon just hits the edge of the earth.
Okay.
So it's going through the atmosphere. The blue gets
Filtered out. Oh, okay.
filtered out, and you just get the long
Pollution
wavelength.
somewhere else.
It's not pollution. It's actually light reflects. Yeah. Okay, and then. Okay, now for what's actually close to home. These were all taken pretty close to my home. We'll see bigger versions of them. This is another photo that took an early. This one actually went to an exhibition in Copenhagen, an exhibition about minimalism in photography. And this was taken right close to my home in Magan Michael. There are lakes there, fish lakes, where they're growing fish to sell them. And the birds are really happy about that. And this is a beautiful place to be almost every month of the year. And the nice thing about that, again, if you actually manage to grab the birds at the right time and the water is quiet enough, you get beautiful reflections. And the one problem with this photo actually is that if you look closely enough, there is only one bird that's actually in focus, the middle one. Both the one that's closer to us and the one that's further away are not. There are ways to address this, or there were ways to address this when I took the photo, but they didn't do that. You actually need to close down your aperture and then you get a deeper depth of field, but I didn't do that, unfortunately. It still came out nicely. This was also taken, this was 5 minutes walk from my home. This is a goldfinch, or in Hebrew it's called chochit. Chochit is someone that likes thorns, basically. And it actually likes to stand on thorns. And this actually went the world. This specific thorns are hoch, maybe, yeah. Yeah, again, you need to look at this on the computer because the difference of the colors between this and this is striking. This actually went the world. It went to New York, to an exhibition sponsored by Kodak. It went to Belgrade. The nice thing about this photo is actually that we have eye contact with the bird. We have really nice depth of field here. Like the bird is totally in focus. It's really sharp, and everything else is blurred out. It really makes the bird stand out. So this works out really well here. The one thing that's missing is a bit of details. It was a bit too far away, but the bird wasn't waiting for me to come closer, so I had to do. This is an interesting photo actually. This is a pretty small crop from a really much larger photo. A seemingly uninteresting photo. I mean, these are sparrows. They're not really interesting birds in any way. But they actually caught my eye and how they were standing in line with one of them standing the opposite direction and trying to build a coalition in a way, probably. I was more thinking about the police lineup, but okay. And apparently, even though because this is such a large crop, the quality is not up there, but the story it tells is actually interesting enough. This went to three exhibitions. Amsterdam 2 times, 2 years in a row. And Las Vegas. Las Vegas was a really funny thing for me because this was an exhibition about wedding photography and portrait photography, which this is neither. But they chose this for some example. And this is also near Givat Ada, in the fields. This is a kestrel again. This photo didn't win anything, that's true. It was very, very much liked on the social media. And one of the reasons it was actually liked is because it breaks some rules. Now, one of the major rules in photography is to never, ever, ever place your subject in the middle of the photo. Our eyes don't like that, usually. Like, you need to put them a bit to the right or a bit to the left, that's fine. On some specific subject, this actually works. This is an example. This bird has enough presence, I guess, and the background is interesting enough that it can work in the middle. In hindsight, I would actually cut this a bit differently. I would put it more on the right because the bird is looking to the left, so I would put it a bit more on the right and have more space to the side it's looking on, but you learn. That's another one from Agan Michael, one of my favorite places. This is the pied kingfisher. These are the largest kingfishers in Israel. They're black and white, so less flashy than the other types, which we will see soon. But they're incredible birds. They can stand in mid-air, or not really stand. They stay in this location in mid-air, flapping their wings, observing the fish below, then go down and catch them. This is from an above angle, which is pretty rare from them because usually you see them from below. This also won a competition. And yeah, this is what they look like when they're actually going down. And this happens really, really, really fast. Looks like a rocket, I guess. Or so the brown thing behind the bird is actually the water. It's really muddy. So it went down really fast. And this went to The Hague in another exhibition. And this is a barn swallow. What's the name in Hebrew? I don't remember. But these are pretty small birds. Snunit, yeah, Snunit refatot, right. So this is a barn swallow. They're really quick in the air. Actually, catching one in flight is quite a challenge. I was sitting near the lake that day. I think I took 5,000 photos. I think 2 of them came out in focus or something like that. This is one of them. Pretty nice. Still not as close as I would have wanted it to be. I had to crop quite a bit. But it shows this amazing bird. They fly through the air like they own it. They make really rapid movements left and right. And they actually go down and drink the water while in flight. This is something I never managed to catch, but there's still hope. And this is one of my favorite photos, actually. This is, again, the Kestrel. We have quite a bit of them. Kestrel are bazim. They're small raptors. And this one, in 3 different competitions, in 3 different sites, the pose here is resembling an angel with the wings spread out. One of my favorite photos.
What about the background?
The background is the sky. Here it's blue, here it's white, so the background is a bit bluish. It's light blue.
Looks like you cropped it away.
Yeah. It was a really bright day, and the Kestrel is relatively dark, so if you actually want to see details on the dark Kestrel, you actually have to let the camera catch lots of light, and then the sky is really light. But the real sky color is blue. It was really light blue anyway that day. Again, look on the computer. Looks like, I think the presentation is shared, so you can see that on better screens. Looks much better. Another one of my favorite photos. Now, this is a perfect example of a low quality photo. This is heavily cropped. If you actually look closely, there's a lot of noise here. But the story is wonderful. This is a common tern. We have common terns in Israel. This is their time, actually. They fly through Israel this time of year. And they're diving into the water for a couple of seconds and come out of them with fish. This one didn't manage to come out with fish, but it flew off, and then it's shaking the water off in the air. You can see the water droplets flying everywhere. And this actually went to an exhibition, which is nice, but I stopped putting this photo in competitions quite quickly because the quality is just not good enough, which is a pain, but because I really like this pose. And this is again the pied kingfisher. This is what it looks like if he actually comes out of the water with a small fish. Sometimes they catch larger ones as well. This one to Barcelona. Again, we have really nice separation between the subject and the background because the background is blurred out. If you look closely enough, the focus is not pinpoint here. So it's not a perfect picture by any means. But again, the story is really nice. And this was taken near Zichron Yaakov, also close to home. And this lizard was giving me quite a show. This is my favorite pose, but it was standing on the rock and lying on the rock and rolling on the rock. And it was really happy with that rock that day. I'm not even sure why. And this was taken at the beach near Magan Michael. Turns out we have crabs there, which I wasn't aware of, because if you're at the beach, they just run away. They don't want to be near people. I was actually sitting in the beach waiting for something else, and they noticed some really small movement. And then with a big zooming lens, I actually caught that one just coming out of the sand. And they actually disappear really quickly. Once they notice any movement, they're under the sand in seconds, or less than that even. This photo went to Milan. This is another kind of kingfisher we have in Israel. This is the white-throated kingfisher. Very common in Israel, a beautiful bird. It makes beautiful sounds as well. Hearing it sing is incredible. And this, again, is a somewhat minimalistic photo. The quality is not huge, but the quality is not the thing here. What I'm actually trying to say is, again, the story. This is, again, on the fish lakes, where they grow the fish. And they have these wires spread over the lakes. And this one was standing on the wires in a way that really made it stand out for me, and made the photo look interesting. So that was actually in Milan, printed pretty largely in the exhibition. And this is the third kind of kingfisher we have in Israel. This is the common kingfisher, arguably the most beautiful of them all. If you look at the beautiful colors on a good screen, this is a bit died out, but think about this. This is really blue, like striking blue. And this is striking orange. And this is one of the most beautiful birds around. This won a competition, went to Vienna, and this specific one gave me quite a presentation that day. We have this photo, we have this one, which is the same one on another wire, which both won a competition and went to be printed in a digital camera magazine. And this is a different one, but on the same spot, basically. Another winner in competition. And this is what one actually looks like when it's not standing on the main object, but actually on a branch, which is what us nature photographers much prefer to see. So this photo actually, this photo is really, really nice. The one thing that detracts here is that the background is the water. The water is blue, the bird is blue. And if we had like something green on the background, this would be close to a perfect photo. And this is one in flight. This is again, I was sitting somewhere waiting for that to happen, took 1,000 pictures, one came out. They're small birds, they're really quick. They're really hard to grab in flight. And here we have herons. If you go to Magan Michael, you can see a great deal of these. They are amazingly impressive birds. They are huge. When this thing is standing on the ground, it's like a 12-year-old boy. It's a big thing. And they grab the fish. And they make a lot of noise. That's true. Yeah. So this one also went to win a competition. And this is an osprey, which is a really large bird of prey we have in Israel. Actually, it's not considered large, it's considered medium. The eagles are way bigger than that. But the ospreys are really impressive in that they actually grab fish with their feet from inside the water. They actually fly above the water and then spot a fish below, go down, and pull them out using their feet, which is a really impressive thing to see. A friend of mine took a photo of an osprey that was particularly ambitious and actually managed to grab 2 fish, one in each foot, in a single dive to the water. That was crazy. Now this photo has lots of detail, again on a good screen. If you zoom in, you can actually see that he's completely wet. He emerged from the water a minute earlier. So all the feathers on his head are glued by the water. But it gave me eye contact, which is wonderful. You can zoom in on the eyes. They have quite a stare there. I wouldn't want to be a fish. And yeah. Again, the one thing with the birds in flight, the sky is a relatively boring background. If you get a more interesting background, the photo looks way better. Pelicans. We have pelicans in Israel. Not sure if you know this name. They go through Israel in the spring, I believe. Yeah, in the spring and in the autumn. Yeah, but I believe in the spring they go through Magan Michael, and you can see huge formations of them, like hundreds of them, catching the airwaves, going up. Actually, saying formation is not the right term. In English, there's a term for basically every group of every animal and or bird. And pelicans have a squadron. A squadron. Squadron, yeah. And they look like a squadron here. They have their leader and they fly in a pack, and it's pretty impressive. Okay, now to the smaller bird. This went to Barcelona. This is a classic, if you would, the classic wildlife photo. This makes all the experts really, really happy because you have a clear subject in a clear position. It's a bit to the side of the photo. The background is interesting enough, but it's blurred out. I was really happy for this photo to go to an exhibition. I find it a bit boring. I like photos with a bigger story. But there's a Facebook group of experts in wildlife photography, and that's exactly what they like. These photos get lots of happiness there. This is a different one. Again, these are pretty easy to get to win stuff because experts like them so much. So this was a winner in a competition. It's also not really very interesting. So it shows the bird with good details and stuff, but apart from that, I don't find these really interesting. Here we have, I don't even remember what bird it was, some kind of duck, and they like to run on the water, especially when they're scared. Usually they're scared from whichever person is approaching. So I have lots of photos of these running away from me. This one got scared from someone else, so I actually could grab it on the water. What I really like about this photo is the water splashes. You can actually see where the feet were before, the water splashing up, and the reflections. Sorry? So between what?
Did it win anything?
This one, no, this didn't. It's a bit, it's a really nice photo. It doesn't have too much color in it. It's a bit boring. I mean, probably a way to make it more interesting would actually to bring it to make it black and white. That's also a possibility, but I don't know. No.
Definitely stop.
Yeah. Okay, this is probably the photo that won the most. You can see the list here. Was to Berlin twice. Was a winner in a competition, a finalist in 2 professional competition, pretty big ones actually. A People's Choice in another competition where there was an expert panel that chose a different picture and a vote by all participants, which actually chose this one. Again, this was taken in Zichron Yaakov, pretty close to here. The nice thing about this photo is it actually shows things that you wouldn't be able to see with the naked eye. You can't see this amount of detail on any butterfly, basically. Especially not from this angle. This was actually taken from lower than the butterfly. Butterfly is actually standing. So you can see the quote-unquote face and good details on the wings, and the background is interesting. This was a photo I was really happy with. And then there was this one, which is another, its friend basically, 2 meters to the side, which also won a competition. It's a bit of a different angle, maybe a bit less interesting. The background is a bit more noisy, so it was less successful. But still, it actually shows the wing better than the previous one. So Whoa. Okay. I'm not sure if you see. We have kestrels here. The ones on the one on the left is a juvenile. It can fly, but not very far. The one on the right is actually the father, and he brought a mouse for them to feed on. And if you look really closely, I'm not sure how many details you can see. You can actually see the face of the mouse with the eyes wide open. So this was quite an experience. The photo is a bit annoying because the kestrel to the right is a bit cut. It didn't fit entirely in the frame. The background is somewhat ugly, but the story here is incredible. And again, something that's very, very hard to see without the camera. They are finished with the mouse in 2 seconds, basically. If actually grabbing the moment that the mouse is still there is something you need a camera for. And careful planning. I was waiting near, I knew the juveniles were there, I saw them. So I was waiting there for the parents. They had a train of food coming in, basically. They came in every few minutes, so I was waiting there. The next time they brought in some insect, for example. And here there were 2 juveniles. There were actually 4 young ones. 2 of them are inside eating the previous catches. And this is a bit of a better photo. This is the mother this time. The difference between the mothers and fathers and kestrels is pretty easy to spot. It's the heads. The mothers have the same pattern on the head as on the rest of the body. The fathers have gray heads, which is not very visible here, but you can actually see black stripes here. That's the head is gray. Okay, this was also taken in Zichron Yaakov. And here we have some added interest. The butterfly is beautiful, of course, but it's not beautiful enough, I think, to fill a photo, to make it interesting. So we have that, we have the background, and we have the bee coming in. And the bee was actually not really planned by me, so it's actually blurred out because it was flying really, really quickly. I wasn't using fast enough shutter speed to freeze it in place. But actually the bee is what makes this picture interesting. That's why it also won a competition. Yeah, this is a dragonfly. Really, really, really up close. This is what the eyes look like. I enlarged it a bit more than would be optimal because like some people have specialty lenses that they can get really, really close and get huge amounts of details on that. My lenses are not that equipped to this kind of photo, but it's still an amazing thing to see. You can actually see that it's missing a few small eyes on the left. It probably can see well enough though. And this was a winner, obviously, in a macro competition.
How far were you actually?
This was 40 centimeters away, maybe, if I remember correctly, something like that. It was lucky that he didn't fly away because they're usually a bit scared. But if you actually come close slowly enough, you may be able to get pretty close. This is again a dragonfly, a different one from Gifat Ada this time in the same competition. What we actually see here is the sun is on the back. It's shining through the wings of the dragonfly, which makes them shine out. And it also makes the outline of the dragonfly light up. So backlighting, lighting from the back always works well. It's a bit hard to take the photos correctly with backlighting, but because you tend to end up with photos that are way too dark. The entire photo is bright and your subject actually becomes dark. But if you actually want to get to upgrade your photography, learning to work with the light in the back as opposed to coming behind you is a really nice way to go. You can also see that in the background there are other interesting things that are blurred out. And this, again, this adds for a more interesting background. without taking any focus from the main subject. So this is another interesting way to make photos more interesting. Look at what's in the back. The third photo in this competition was this one. Again, you can see details from the butterfly that you wouldn't see without the camera, basically. Or with a microscope, but then the butterfly is dead and it's much less fun. And the fourth one, I believe, was this one. Again, a frontal angle of a butterfly in a somewhat angelic position again. I like the wings spread out that way. And what you might consider eye contact, though with butterflies you can never know, they have eyes that are somewhat similar to dragonflies. So maybe partial eye contact, I don't know. Okay, Kestrels again. This is a kestrel taking off. You can see one foot is already in the air. The wings are beginning to spread. And then what happens is this. And this is, again, one of the photos I like the most, even though it's far from perfect, starting with the wings being cut, because he was moving so quickly that I was not prepared to catch him in flight that way. But this is really sharp, flying right at us, which is quite an unusual angle. You pretty much wouldn't see that happen because they usually fly away from you. And yeah, background is interesting. So this photo, even though it's so imperfect and so cropped, it still won a competition. Or actually, it didn't win a competition. It actually went to Athens, I see. Went to an exhibition, which is even better. This was taken right at my backyard in broad daylight. Now, what happens here is the following. It's an effect you can... The background is actually green, or somewhat green. It's green and far away. And again, the light is coming from the back. So it's green, very dark green, and very far away. It's completely blurred out. And the actual subject is very bright compared to the background. Now, our eyes have a much larger dynamic range than the camera. So our eyes can actually perceive, if you look at this in person, they can actually perceive both the butterfly and the background in a somewhat visible color. The camera has limitations. So the camera actually captures the back, the back as something really, really close to black. But it actually makes for a really, really nice effect here. Again, with the backlighting, you have the outline of the butterfly showing really nicely, and everything shines. And this went to Berlin, again, with a mostly black, because... And this is a different, this is called the Diptera. It's some kind of fly we have in Israel, apparently. And you can get really, really nice details here. If you zoom into the eyes, you can see the really, really small eyelets resembling that of the dragonfly. You can see the fur on the body. It's not really fur, but somewhat close to that. And this was one of my good experiments with macro shooting, which is not really my forte, but I like doing that from time to time. And these are the cosmopolitans. Now, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of months ago, there were 2 billion of those flying through Israel. So we were actually on a road trip that day, and my daughter was driving, and she was really unhappy because they kept crashing into the car. When we actually made a stop, we had corpses of like 50 of them in various places in the car. But apparently there were 2 billion of them, so it wasn't that bad. And they fly through Israel every year, not in these numbers though. There was a combination of weather in Saudi Arabia, I believe, that caused them to multiply more than they usually do, like then fly through here. Weather changes everything. Again, we have a bit of a backlighting here, and we have the actual, like the butterfly is not really pink, or it's actually white, but you actually see the color reflect onto it, so it actually seems that like it has some pink hairs below, which is funny. This is also a photo I like very much. Again, showing the wonderful effects you get when the sun is in the right position. The sun is in the back. I'm really close to the water, so you have a really low angle. So basically you have the sun, not directly, but the sun, most of the sunlight shining through the bird and through the water droplets that are in the air. This creates for a really nice effect with a bit of reflection below. This was a winner in a competition as well. And the other winner was this one. That's arguably an even better angle. And these are the turns. The one that previously I mentioned, that was a wonderful photo or a really bad photo of a wonderful story. So this is a better photo of a better story, actually. And they're just emerging from the water. And this is again from Gan Michael, from the beach. I was actually lying there waiting for some other things to happen, and apparently this bird wasn't really noticing me. It was really busy, and it was standing 3 meters from me, which is nice. The reflection here is great. That's what I wanted to show in this photo. Yeah, here we have some more dragonfly eyes, different color this time. The nice thing about this photo is, again, the wonderful details. The bad thing is the lighting. You can see the circles at the top of the eyes. That's the sun, basically. And there was direct sunlight, that really, really harsh, strong light. And everything here is really contrasty. It actually loses details because it's so contrasty. This kingfisher went to Ljubljana. It's actually not a black and white photo. It just looks that way, because the sun there were lots of clouds that day. The kingfisher is black and white, so I actually pushed it and sent it to them as a monochrome. Like the exhibition was for monochrome pictures. They actually like that. Oh, okay. More dragonflies. Let's skip a bit. Okay, this is actually a dragonfly in flight, which is also something which is a bit hard to catch. Let's go to the world a bit. Yeah. Okay, let's go this one. This is called bee eater. This beautiful bird, they come through Israel every year, this time of year actually. They nest in Israel, near Hadera. And they're basically artworks flying in the sky. They have the most beautiful colors, and they actually catch insects while in flight, which is quite a sight to behold. This is this thing. Actually, that's a split second before it caught the butterfly. And now let's see. Okay. This is one of the photos I like the most. Again, see it on the computer, the colors are more interesting than this. The sky is totally pink. Looks amazing. It was amazing that day. This was taken in Kenya, really early in the morning. And this also went to 2 magazines and an exhibition. And this one, yeah. And this was taken in Hula, more of an artistic photo for some. It was a really foggy morning, early in the morning, and they just lined up perfectly in the sky.
Same bird or?
Yeah, these are cranes. They have.
The same bird, very
No. These are 4 different birds in the sky. Yeah.
They collaborated.
They collaborated, exactly. No Photoshop, no. I don't like photo. I might play with the colors a bit or with contrast, but I don't, or crop the photo, but I don't add or subtract things from the photo. Don't believe in that. Yeah, again, the cranes. This one? מובזים? מובזים זה קדימה. Yeah, this was in Ramat Gan, the national park. And they have a big happy family there every year. Yeah, and then that was my latest trip. I came back a month ago. Let's skip a bit because, yeah, monkeys playing. What actually makes this picture work is that it was taken from a really low angle. I was lying on the ground basically, so I can see that that's their perspective of the action. Yeah, this was taken at night. The owl actually caught a bird. Lighting was problematic. This is a hyena. They are wonderful mothers apparently, and the cubs are incredibly cute. They look like small dogs, and they're making eye contact, which is awesome. And this is a Lilacbreasted Roller, another beautiful bird in Africa. Not sure what they need all these colors for, but they're incredible. Yeah, there was another photo. I'm skipping some because we're short on time.
They need the colors because it's competition.
Between them and the other birds, probably, yeah. And yeah, elephants. Oh, okay, this one. So here are 2 photos of elephants taken at basically the same place. There's this one, which is a nice wide photo. The lighting is beautiful. It's taking right in a bit before sunset. The entire lighting becomes yellow or golden. That's the golden hour, basically. And then there's this photo. Now, the reason I like this photo so much more is because it has a much more pronounced subject, and it has the layers. It has the one elephant basically leading the pack that's coming behind it, and even further away you can see the bushes. So this photo has everywhere you look, something interesting is happening. This is hyenas again. This shows the scale of things. This is a fully grown elephant standing right there. And yeah, that's a fish eagle in Africa. And this is how they sing, apparently. They bring their heads back and they make wonderful noises by bringing them forward. Close-up of a giraffe. This is again the golden hour. You can see everything. If the sun is low enough, everything becomes golden. And you can observe it has birds that clean it flying nearby with the sun shining through them. This needs a better screen. This is again the Lilacbreasted Roller. And, okay, elephants. Yeah, this one, the title was suggested on Facebook by someone who saw this photo. Everybody get out of the water. And then on our way out, this is the last day, we encountered this wonderful situation. 4 rhinos in the middle of the road. Lots of cars around. There's a queue of cars behind the ones you actually can see here. A queue of cars behind us. And nobody can go because these 2-ton monsters are actually, that's where they're going to be, and you don't want to make them angry. Then really nice contrast of man versus wildlife. Another couple. And this was again titled by one of my Facebook friends. Basically, this is your last shot. And this rhino actually did get angry, and we actually had to drive away really, really quickly. It wasn't the scene, it was a bit later. It came to the side of our car and then found out that the rest of the rhinos are on the other side of the car. And it really, really wanted to be with them. and we had to get out before it, so we are not standing in its way. So this is the last shot, apparently.
Thank you so much, Ilan. I think what struck me the most is actually when looking through the slides that most of it was taken in Israel. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
And I'm sure that many people here have questions to you. So, anyone?
So you mentioned taking some 5,000 photos for one of the birds until you can't one. Typically, how many photos do you discard for a good one?
So it depends what you call a good one. I usually go out for like 3-4 hours a day, take a few thousand photos, like somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 photos. And usually after browsing through them, they keep anything between 5 and 20. These are okay enough that I want to keep them. Really good photos are, I don't know, 1 in 100 of these, maybe. So it's one of the most frustrating professions you can choose, basically. Lots of photos go to the trash can immediately. And as you gain experience, you actually really see in your eyes what you actually want to photograph. You know where the animal is. You know where you want it to be relatively to everything else. You know what you want the lighting to be. And it rarely happens that everything falls into place. The clouds come out, or the bird moves, or whatever happens, or another photographer comes in and brings the car and scares it away, or whatever. So, yeah.
That's actually from me, but how close do you usually get to the subject, specifically when it's birds, for example? How far is it taken from?
It depends on the birds. Like the big ones, if you're talking eagles and stuff, then that can be like 10 meters or 10 meters away is pretty good. The smaller ones, you need to get closer, and that's actually challenging. Like one of the ways, if they actually see you come closer, they fly away. What you actually want to do is learn where they want to be, and then you get close really, really slowly, hoping you're not scaring them away. And if they do go away, you might want to stay there for another half an hour, and then they come back. But
anyone else?
Are you working at this every day? You're going out to take photos every day? Is that something you do?
yeah, basically, yes. Basically, yes, yeah. שם, לא יודע אם הוא עובד.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh, one last question.
Do you meet other photographers, or is it basically an alone type of pursuit?
It depends. So if you're going to photograph wildlife, it's usually alone because a large group of people will scare them away. Sometimes we do meet, like we have groups on Facebook and other places where we actually meet together and show photos and exchange opinions and learn stuff. And sometimes we do organize, there are like safari trips you can go to. They're really expensive, but you can you can do that. But yeah, usually you're at it alone. I mean, for the most part, most of the photos, everybody sees different things and wants different angles anyway, so it's not really a together experience.
So I believe we are done. That was really wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.